Warning, we are not trained professionals. Do not take any advice that we give as official doctoral prescribed medical treatment. Lucy Deakins is our queen, lord, and savior. Side effects may include loving Lucy Deakins, not to be confused with I Love Lucy, going down many rabbit holes, not to be confused with Alice in Wonderland, which is an excellent Disney film if you haven't seen it, and appreciating cinema as used as a therapeutic device, not to be confused with drugs, antidepressants, or any other form of enhancements that you may find in legal states. Please enjoy responsibly, just like Bud Light, which is actually pretty gross if you've ever tried it. I'm not a beer fellow per se, but Maddie loves beer and she's an outstanding individual, so trust her judgment, but don't discredit mine. Bud Light's gross. Additional disclaimer. If the film says we can say it too. So check the film rating and that will be our podcast rating.
Hello, patients. Welcome back to Film Therapy.
Hello.
I am Madison.
As always, and I am Jake, of course.
Welcome, Jake.
Thank you.
We have made it here today to discuss the last 3 movies of the Friday the 13th series.
As of now, I mean, they could make more.
How does this make you feel?
Underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed by the movies we had to end with, well, 2 of them, but I'm also feeling complete and satisfied that we actually did this mini marathon. It was great.
Yeah,
and it was really fun.
Me too. I agree. I would have never, ever done this on my own time, so thanks for pushing me to do something.
This is why we're friends.
I feel very accomplished and very proud to say that I have completed this, and it's good to be done, though. Mm-hmm. For sure.
So then we can move on to more therapeutic movies that probably won't be very therapeutic at all.
Yeah, we need to bring it down a notch with the killing and gore, probably.
And the nudity.
Oh god, the nudity. The horror. The titties.
Oh boy. So
many titties. I'll start by asking you if you watched anything else this week.
Oh boy, no, not really. Not after my big load of 10 things last week. I think this week I'm a little bit, I haven't watched that much, really. I'm honestly trying to think.
Okay. Last night I watched a spooky movie on Netflix called Head Count.
Okay.
And it's about this group of teens that go out to the desert in Joshua Tree and they have like a fun party weekend, but then they accidentally summon a demon type thing that haunts them and stalks them, and it's a shapeshifter and it turns into people like in the group, so you don't know who the shapeshifter is, and then it makes them commit suicide, which is tragic. But it was very scary, and afterward I was kind of spooked out, which doesn't normally happen. I was like walking around the house kind of freaked out. That's how I know it was good, because that never happens to me. So yeah, that's called Head Count.
Okay.
I also forgot to mention this one I watched a while back on Hulu that really stuck with me. It's called Pyewacket.
Okay.
Pyewacket. And it's like an indie horror about this girl who does a spell to try to kill her mother because she's mad at her, and she's like she has some teen angst, anger toward her, but then it goes horribly wrong, obviously, and this demon thing comes out. It's called Pyewacket, and tortures her and scares her and everyone who comes near her, and it's very interesting. It's very good. Very well done for an indie film.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really intriguing.
Uh-huh.
I'd forget when I started doing this, but over the last few days I've been watching David Lynch short films and interviews on YouTube. It's not one of his like shorts, but it's an interview that he did, and it's like it really resonated with me. Yeah, so he was talking about like fear and like what it means like to him, what he's afraid of, and like how he chose to not to go to therapy because his therapist said it would help probably stifle his creativity in the creative process. And it was just really fascinating. And then because the interviewer was like, do your dreams play into the movies that you make? And then he said like, the dreams I have at night are one thing, but like when I sit down during the day and let like a daydream take over me, that's like when I really feel inspired. And I'm like, that's a total paraphrase, but that just really clicked with me because I'm like, wow, I feel like that's where a lot of my ideas come from.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
So now I want to watch all of his features that I haven't seen and then rewatch the last season of Twin Peaks because people say like it builds on like the themes of all his other movies and it kind of, it's not saying it's like the MCU or something where it's like a shared universe, although it could be. I'm sure there's theories out there. But as far as like the thematicness of all his works go, it's like culminates everything that came before in a way, if that makes sense.
The last season of Twin Peaks does? Is that what you're saying?
The 2017. Neat. And also it's great. It's really artsy, but it's very good.
I still need to see it.
Well, why don't we if we ever do another marathon, that's what we can marathon.
Yeah, good idea.
Because there's actually debate whether the 2017 series is a movie or a TV series. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it really is like an 18 hour art film. So.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah.
I did watch on Netflix this new one called Banana Split, most importantly starring two girls, but then another character is Dylan Sprouse from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I have heard of this.
And it was really good. I thought it was really unique, and it's about high schoolers, so I love that. You love that. And
yes, high school movies are the best.
But it's a different take because it starts off with like this girl and Dylan Sprouse like having their relationship and then breaking up, and then the girl starts to become best friends with Dylan Sprouse's new girlfriend, which is really interesting. So I recommend it. I'm
really intrigued. I was going to watch a movie tonight. I didn't know what it was. It might be that.
Do it.
So there's a movie called The Banana Splits Movie, and then there's Banana Split, and they both came out. Well, one's 2018, one's 2019. But the 2018 one is with Dylan Sprouse. So I'll add that to my watch list so I don't forget. So
I guess now we can get into our recap of the last Friday the 13th movie we left off on, which is the 10th one called Jason XXX. Jason XXX. Not really.
Well, that'd be a totally different movie. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. It wouldn't be that much different.
Not that much different, yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, oh, God. So, yeah, do you want to synopsize this one?
I'll synopsize. I just watched it a few hours ago, so this should go well.
All right. We can just help each other out, like where we forget.
Okay. All right, so it begins in like a semi-futuristic world. Well, no, maybe not. It's kind of modern looking, where they're in a lab, this girl and a team of military officers, and they have Jason Voorhees wrapped up as a subject because they're doing tests on him and everything. But then obviously he escapes because he is Jason, and he kills people, kills everyone, and almost kills this girl named Rowan, but she shoves him into this cryogenic tank, and she thinks she's safe, but she goes to peek in the window, and he stabs through the cryogenic tank with his machete and into her, so it cuts her, she falls down, and then the cryogenic tank is leaking its like cryogenicness all over, and the door locks to the outer room, and so they both get cryogenized, frozen, and then we zoom on 455 years. I guess maybe, well, yeah, they say that they are 455 in the movie, so maybe this was taking place in the year 2000.
Oh, no, it's 445. It's in the year 2010. I just looked it up. I looked it up because I wanted to be sure, because I was like, wait.
Now, zoom on into the year 2455. Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee. So these group of astronaut people, scientists, walk into the lab where Rowan and Jason are frozen, and they collect their bodies, and because they have the technology to reanimate them. So they bring them aboard their spaceship because Earth has been destroyed pretty much. Oh yeah, this research facility that Rowan and Jason were on is called Crystal Lake Research Facility. So that whole camp and everything turned into a government facility somehow, somewhere along the way. So now they're on the spaceship. They make Rowan come back to life using these like nano ants things, nanobots that come out and heal anything that they crawl on. There's like 100,000 of them. No, there's like millions of them. And they crawl into her body and they heal her and they make her come back to life. They also can do things like put someone's arm back onto his body because he got it cut off when Jason fell out of the cryogenic tank. Let's see. So there's like a professor and some students there. There's only one serious student. She's the one in charge of looking after Jason and kind of doing tests and stuff on him. And so, of course, when Jason comes back to life, because he just gets thawed out and, of course, is ready to go, he doesn't really need any robot ants.
He really doesn't care that he's in a completely different like time period. He doesn't care.
No, doesn't care.
In this movie, he is literally awoken by people, going at it, having sex. It literally wakes him up.
That's right.
We're not like that's not like hyperbolic. The movie cuts from that to Jason like waking up, and you're like, oh shit.
Yes, he's like, I hear hanky pank.
Yes, exactly.
Must kill. So he wakes up and grabs this girl, Adrian, and this is pretty sick.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite parts.
Yep.
Grabs her head and then shoves it into this like tank that freezes things. And so she gets frostbite all over her face, and then he pulls her up and then he slams her head on the table and her face just shatters because it's so frozen.
That was cool.
There's sex going on with two of the other students, and Jason finds a machete-shaped tool, futuristic-looking machete that is used somehow in dissection. Then he starts walking around the ship. He kills Stony.
Stony?
Stony. I don't remember who Stony is. Stony's the one who's having sex, I guess. Yeah. So he goes to walk out of the room and he goes... Then he kills the captain. Oh, no, not the captain. He kills these two guys who are in a game simulation. That was pretty cool. So they're playing this game. They're like shooting aliens, and Jason comes in and they think he's part of the game, but then they turn the game off and they realize he's still there, and then he kills both of them.
I looked up Stony. I looked him up. I don't even remember. Like I saw his face and I'm like, I don't remember you. But there's also a short film called Stony, and it's a parody of Rocky. And There's also an album called Stony. It's Post's debut album.
Post Malone?
Yeah, Post, that guy.
Post.
Yeah, Post. That's what I call him, is Post.
Yeah, Post.
So there's also a sequel to Stony called Cooking with Stony.
Oh my God,
anyway. Anyway.
Kill. That's all Jason does. Starts to kill. So the ship starts to blow up, or implode, or break, and they're all in danger. Oh, there's also this robot chick who's like a android person, and she's like a lifelike being, but she's like Siri, and her name is KM?
I think. Yeah, KM.
I believe. KM, yes. She comes back at the end, and she's all upgraded because the person who controls her, his name is... He's one of the survivors, right?
Yeah, Sunaran.
Sunaran? Oh yeah, Sunaran.
Is that his name?
So Sunaran is KM's programmer, so he gives her an upgrade at the end, and she comes back in like this sexy leather Halloween outfit looking machine gun thing, and she's blowing Jason to pieces.
Yeah.
But he unfortunately lands on one of the tables with all the ants. So all the ants, little nanobot things, crawl up onto him and make him come back to life yet again. So now they're trying to get the ship back to another place called Solaris.
Yes, they're trying to get to Solaris or like whatever, and then it blows up, so they can't go there because the ship like goes through it, right?
Oh yeah, so then Jason attacks the captain, and then the ship has no way to port in Solaris, so they just go right through it and they destroy the whole station.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Oh, I guess we jumped around a bit. Solaris is destroyed, and then he gets his ass kicked by the KM, and then he's brought back to life.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Because what they do next is they do the simulation of Camp Crystal Lake, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And then the sleeping bag kill 2.0.
Yes. So they use KM's head, because somehow she got decapitated and all this. And
Jason, like, punches her head off, right?
Oh, yeah, he does another single-handed decapitation punch.
Yep.
Which is great. Just with one blow, knocks her head off. So, but she's still alive because she's a robot. So Sunaron gets her head, and they plug her into this computer, and they create a simulation like the game that they were playing earlier. Only this is of Camp Crystal Lake, so this distracts Jason. They use, like, KM's knowledge of what 1980s girls are, and they're just, like, dancing around, and they're, like, taking their clothes off, and they're like, we love premarital sex. That was really funny.
Oh my god, that was awful. That was awful. Ugh.
So then Jason is distracted by them. He starts to kill them. Yes, puts one in a sleeping bag and knocks her against a tree again, just like in that one part.
And then doesn't he knock the sleeping bags together too?
I think so. Or he's like whacking the one girl against the other girl in the sleeping bags.
Yeah, that was funny.
But then he actually sees Sunaron, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll just gotta go kill him now. They have to do the simulation. God, I'm all over the place. In order to distract him and long enough so that they can get help from another ship. So the ship arrives, but they can't get in it because the door is not working. So they're distracting Jason while they can get the door fixed. So Jason sees through the simulation right as the door is fixed. So they
then they all get out, but then the sergeant guy stays behind. So then Jason can't get to the others, and then they get sucked out into space, and then Jason's like coming towards the ship because the ship that was docked, the survivors get on that, and then they're like away, like, oh, we're safe. And then Jason's coming toward them, and then the sergeant comes by in an astronaut suit and collides with Jason, and then they both get incinerated.
Yes.
In the explosion of the ship.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, yay, let's go to Earth, yay. And then it goes down to Earth, and then there's two teenagers, then they see a shooting star, then they're like, hey, let's go look at that. And then Jason's mask is like at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, so after Jason gets reanimated again by the nanobots, he somehow gets like this awesome, sick, futuristic suit and mask. He looks very cool.
They call it Uber Jason in the credits.
Yeah, Uber Jason.
Now I want Jason to be an Uber driver. Like, wouldn't that be great for part 13?
I'm Uber Jason. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So, thoughts on this part?
Oh boy. I have a lot to say. Actually, I don't have that much to say. The CGI is atrocious. I hate it. I hate bad CGI. I absolutely despise it. I really don't like how there's no... Like, I know Freddy vs. Jason came after, but I really don't like how there's no point A to point B between 9 and 10. The same thing with 8 and 9. I really don't like it when sequels do that because it makes it feel completely disconnected. That's just a big pet peeve that I have. Like part 9's like, oh, Jason's in hell. And then in this movie, it's like, oh, well, it's 2010. He's like walking around perfectly fine, killing people. And even at the end of Freddy vs. Jason, it's like you don't know how you get from that to Jason X. So it's like, but who cares? The movie sucks anyway. There's the title card in the beginning when it says like Earth 2010 cryogenic chamber in NASA or whatever. That reminded me of three things: Sequest, War Games, and Independence Day. And all three of those things are a million times better than this piece of shit. The top part, I don't know what this means, but I wrote down the top part of the ship, like that they're on, kind of looked like Jason's mask, and I was like,
yeah,
was that intentional?
I noticed that too. I bet it was.
Yeah, when the dude says a box of DVDs is not a gold mine, I'm like, yes, it absolutely is.
Yes, I thought of you during that part.
Yeah, we already talked about the ice face kill. There's that meta speech where what's her name, Rowan, is like, we tried killing him, but some people brought him back. It all comes down to money. And I'm like, is that like a meta speech about like this franchise as a whole?
I'm sure it is.
The CGI aliens are the worst thing ever. That was
that was pretty bad. But I wonder if they like brought it down a notch because it was supposed to be like a video game.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of chalked that up to.
I love how Jason kills them in the game and then they wake up and then he kills them again. Like that's another way to get more bodies. And then there's that scene where like the creepy professor, like that perverted guy was like he's trying to reason with Jason, like he's like, here, I'll give you $10,000 to leave us all alone, and then he's like, oh, you want your machete? Here, take it, guys, that's okay. He just wanted his machete back.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And then there's the obligatory Star Trek reference.
Yes.
And then they mentioned the Microsoft conflict. Like,
oh my god, I know. He's like, just be thankful this isn't the Microsoft conflict or something.
Beating each other with our own severed limbs.
What the fuck is the Microsoft conflict?
I thought it'd be Apple, honestly, but it's Microsoft.
Yeah, they're a little troublesome.
Yeah, there's that one dude that's still alive after he gets stabbed twice with a machete, like. But then again, if I pick apart all the details like that, we'd be here till Christmas of 2071. So, when the android girl, when she like had her fake out death and then she came back and like blew Jason to shreds, that was awesome. Like you said,
yeah. The
whole tone was very comedic because people were just making bad jokes the whole time as opposed to being scared.
Yeah, they were. Oh yeah, like this. I wrote down this one where there's like this two girls walking around like finding dead bodies, and one of the guys has like this metal spiral through him, and she's on the radio, and she's like, they're like, how is he? And she's like, he's screwed. Because there's like a giant screw through him. So bad.
Yeah. And then there's and then when he turns in, before he turns into Uber Jason, when he's like blown to bits on the table, it's a movie convenience, of course, but the table just randomly starts just to bring him back. Like, I'm like, okay,
of course.
Why am I surprised? And then the greatest quote in the entire series, besides "Hey Ted, where's the corkscrew?" is Jason, what's going on? Jason fucking Voorhees, that's what's going on.
Jason fucking Voorhees. Yes.
Yeah, almost as good as, hey Ted, where's the corkscrew?
And then they're all like, oh, we're in the future, we don't know anything about the past, because like the girl, they found his hockey mask, and the teacher's like, does anyone know what this is? And the guy's like, it's a hockey mask. And the teacher's like, very good, young whatever your name is. And the other girl's like, what's hockey? And then he says, oh, it was a sport outlawed in 2024. Which I'm like, hello, hockey's the best sport. You cannot just outlaw it in 4 years, because that's not happening.
While we're on the subject of hockey, two really good hockey movies are Miracle and Youngblood. If you like hockey, watch either or both of those.
Youngblood.
Yeah, have you heard of it? It's Rob Lowe playing hockey. It's pretty good. Patrick the Swayze's also in it as the good player, like he's like the star player. And then Rob Lowe's like the new guy that has to like impress him, basically.
Oh.
It's good. And then Miracle's like based on a true story, and it's like
I did see that one.
Is it Kurt Russell? Is that who's in it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's that movie. My cousin showed it to me because it's one of his favorites, and it was really good.
Yes.
Yeah, hockey. But if you want a real hockey movie, Friday the 13th Part 2. I mean, come on. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Part 3, because he doesn't have the mask in Part 2. My mistake.
Oh, you're right.
I was just thinking Part 2 because Part 2 is like awesome. Anyway, that's all I have for Jason X. It was more fun and more tolerable than Part 9, but it might be a worse movie. Both are very bad. Pick your poison.
Yes. Manhattan was very horrible.
No, that's Part 8. Part 9 is Jason Goes to Hell with the mom and the baby.
Oh, I hated Manhattan more than that one.
Oh, really?
But I did.
I thought the one with the parasite worm was the worst one. By far.
It took an interesting turn.
Yeah,
but it was a little creative.
Yeah, but then you have all these random people just killing other people, and it's like it doesn't even feel like
it's like where even is Jason?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it was very kind of off. Very off.
It was gross. No, I was gonna say, do you have any final thoughts on Jason X?
I liked how it's the year 2455 and they're all just like in a lab with wearing their belly shirts and like 2001 clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that in the future, I guess we just don't need anything to be sterilized or have like a clean environment to do anything because they're all just have their navels out. I thought that Jason, like if they could create an environment where Jason could be stuck in the game simulation forever and ever, he would be happy and no one would get hurt. Like that could be his jail.
Because he just keeps killing people over and over.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that would be nice. But like I said, last time I came up with the best ending to the whole series, which I forgot what it was by now.
Me too.
Anyway, horrible, but not. But we've even seen worse, which is surprising.
We've seen worse. If you're enjoying this podcast, you can subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, pretty much anywhere where you get your podcasts, and it really helps if you rate and review us so that we are more visible on those websites and let us know how we're doing. So thank you. We appreciate your feedback and your listening. I also wanted to mention we are opening up our Gmail account for anyone to send us their problems they're having right now. And I think we're going to start having a section at the end of each podcast where we read some listener problems and then we can prescribe some movies that might bring you some solace or try to help you as best we can as your therapists.
So the email is filmtherapypodcasts@gmail.com. Go there and send us an email. Even if all you want is ice cream at 3 a.m, we can't supply you with that, but we can listen to your problems, no matter how minuscule they are. And if they're bigger problems, then maybe you'll go want to see an actual therapist. But we're a good place to start when it comes to film-related problems.
My voice just cracked during that. Shit.
Yeah, so email us your problems at filmtherapypodcast@gmail.com.
What, my quiet whisper wasn't good enough?
No, because I couldn't hear what you're saying.
Oh, that's what I said.
Oh, okay.
So after that came Freddy vs. Jason, which took 10 years. Since we've both seen some of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and I've seen all of them with Robert Englund, and you've seen a few of them. Even though I'd already seen it, it still had like this kind of like Marvel feel where it's like, oh, these characters are coming together and like it's gonna be awesome, and it was. But then now I'm just thinking like, I know it wouldn't have made as much sense because it was the early 2000s, but like imagine if like it's all the OG Elm Street characters and all the OG like Friday the 13th characters, like and then they meet up and work together. Like that would have been even cooler.
Be sweet. Yeah,
but but then it had to have been in the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you don't mind, I'm going to try and summarize this.
Okay.
So hopefully this goes well.
Go for
but if it doesn't, that's what re-recording and dubbing is for. So basically, in the beginning of this movie, so Freddy is in hell, and he pulled Jason's mask underneath because they're going to fight. And then basically the residents of Springwood, which is the town that Freddy haunts, they've forgotten about him. So he doesn't have any power because he bases his power around the fear of the people that he goes into his dreams. So Freddy uses the rest of his remaining, like, fading power to bring Jason back to life. And then he disguises himself as Mrs. Voorhees to say to Jason, like, go kill all these teenagers in Springwood because they're being really, really bad. And then the main character in this movie, her name is Lori, and she lives with her dad, who's kind of an asshole. And so it's her and a couple of her friends, and then their boyfriends and associates and all of that. They're all having a sleepover, and then Jason shows up and kills a couple of them, and then the police are like, what if there's this new guy on the police force, and he's like, what if it's Freddy? And everybody else is like, don't you dare like say that. Like, why did you say that name? Like go all Ben Affleck on it. I tried to do that and then I lost it halfway through. I'm just talking like to nothing, so I feel like really self-conscious. But anyway, so there's a new young guy on the police force, and he's basically like, oh, it could be Freddy. And then all the other police force members are like all the seasoned policemen are like, no, we don't talk about Freddy in this town anymore because they know, if you forget about Freddy, he doesn't have any power. So then everybody's like, okay, well, whatever. And then one of the teenagers, he wakes up to find his dad dead, and then Jason comes in and kills him. And then the police are just like, oh, it was a murder-suicide, whatever, because they still don't want people to know about Freddy. And then we also follow this guy named Will, who is Laurie's ex, and he and his friends are patients at the psychiatric hospital up in Weston Hills, where Nightmare Part 3 took place. And they're taking Hypnosil to suppress their dreams, because, that's what happens when you want to get away from Freddy. And then they see on the news that, because Laurie's living in Nancy's house, and then they see on the news, like, oh, that house, there's like a murder there. And then Will's like, oh shit, she's in trouble. So then he goes and tries to find her, and then they all meet up at this party where Jason starts killing everybody. And then they all, once they see that Jason's there, they all escape. And then, so once they all escape, they're like, okay, we're going to go and get all the Hypnosil from the psychiatric hospital, so then we don't have to dream. We don't have to dream. And so, but then Freddy possesses the one kid that's like stoned out of his mind, and then he dumps it all down the sink and then kills him. And then they're like, okay, we're going to pull Freddy out of the dream world, and then he's going to fight Jason, so then they can kill each other instead of trying to kill us. So then they take Jason's body and then like inject him with something to keep him asleep. And then they like have him in the back of their van, just like lying on the ground. And then Jason starts dreaming of Freddy, and they start fighting. And then Freddy's like, "Oh, Jason's afraid of water because that's how he died as a kid." And then, then he's strong. He's stronger in the dream worlds. Then he's like winning the fight. And then Laurie's like, "Oh no, he's killing Jason. We have to keep him alive." So she goes to sleep, and then she like pulls Jason. She like wakes Jason up, and then they're driving to Camp Crystal Lake. So they get to the camp, and then the cabin that they're in catches fire. And then Laurie wakes up and pulls Freddy out, and then he and Jason are fighting, and then everybody runs away, and then everybody except for Laurie and Will get killed, and then Jason and Freddy end up on this dock, and the two of them are just fighting back and forth and like stabbing each other with each other's weapons and cutting their eyes out and like doing all this really awesome grotesque stuff. And then Laurie and Will take all this gasoline and pour it all over and set it on fire, and then the two, like Freddy and Jason, fly off and land in the water. Freddy comes out and tries to kill them, but then Jason comes back up and stabs him with his claw, with his like decapitated arm, with his claw sticking out. And then Laurie, in a reference, I believe, to the first Friday, she comes around and like cuts Freddy's head off. Ooh. Is it in slow motion?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but anyway, whether it's in slow motion,
I don't think so.
Yeah, but then they fall into the lake, and then Laurie and Will just leave. And then the next morning, Jason comes out with his in the fog, holding his machete, and then Freddy's head's like in his other hand. And then Freddy looks at the camera and winks, and then the movie just ends, and there's no sequel. So.
Oh goodness gracious!
And now I'm out of breath. So hopefully you can
Wonderful.
Hopefully you can edit that into something feasible.
That was good. Yeah, very good. This was a very fun one. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
I love Freddy. First of all,
I think love that's Freddy.
Most of the reason why I liked it.
Yeah, me too. I love him.
It's more Freddy.
Every movie needs to have Robert Englund as Freddy. Like, that's why I haven't seen the remake, because I'm like, nobody else can be Freddy.
Yeah.
Also, nobody else can be Nancy. So that's why. That's the main reason why I haven't watched it.
When did that come out?
2010.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So they remade Friday the 13th. They're like, oh, we got to remake Nightmare on Elm Street. I didn't even know there was a remake.
Yeah, and apparently, like, people hated it. Like, fans were like, no, it's bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, it probably is.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so what do you have? What do you have written down?
Like I said, we've talked about this before, but I watched this probably when it came out, when I was, like, in 3rd grade.
Oh, boy.
And I was way too young to be watching it. But
yeah.
I don't know. I vaguely remember the part where the douchebag Trey in the beginning gets folded in half backwards in the bed.
Yes. That was awesome.
I vaguely remember that. So, and then I didn't remember anything else. So I was like, maybe there's a chance that we turned it off after we saw that part. I did like the B plot of how Laurie's dad supposedly murdered her mom, and then Will witnessed it. So that's why Laurie's father sent Will to the psychiatric hospital and made sure those two didn't have any communication, because they were basically still in love. So she didn't know where he went. He just disappeared, but it turns out he was in the psychiatric hospital. And she didn't even know her dad worked there.
Right,
so she didn't trust him anymore. But then she finds out during one of her dreams that Freddy was actually the one murdering her mom, and her dad just came in the bedroom to murder Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too late. And so what Will thought he saw was her dad murdering her mom, which I don't know why. I guess Laurie's dad didn't want to talk to Will about that, just to because he'd be mentioning Freddy and start the hysteria all over again, probably. But the hypnosil stuff, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it really ties into part 3 with the whole, that's what part 3 is about, is that, they're talking about taking the hypnosil or not, and then that's when they go into the dreams and fight Freddy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's right.
I just found this out, because I wanted to get clear on this before I realized. The original treatment for Freddy vs. Jason 2 was Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash, who's Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead, who's also really awesome. And then they made that comic, and then they made Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash, the Nightmare Warriors, and that brings a bunch of characters back from both series, I think. I haven't looked into it too much, but I know Nancy shows up, and Tommy's probably in there too, and that kind of thing.
That would be awesome.
And then they were going to make it into a movie, but then they never did. And I'm like, why? Ugh. Why would you make a remake instead?
So it's a comic?
Yeah, so it's 2 comics. And, apparently it was creative differences between the studio and Bruce Campbell, which,
Come on, Bruce.
No. I blame the studio. You never blame Bruce. Bruce was awesome.
True. I'm sure the studio fucked some shit up.
Yeah.
I really like the soundtrack of this one. There was, some heavy metal music during the crazy fight scene between Freddy and Jason. I was headbanging.
Yeah.
By the way.
I really liked...
Then I listened to all the credits.
I really liked how they intermixed the 2 themes. When the logo started, that was so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a nice title sequence. Who did you want to win, Freddy or Jason?
I don't know. I'd say Freddy because I like him more, but then also, I don't know. I feel like the people that Freddy's killed, I liked more than the people Jason's killed. So, as a revenge thing, I'm like, Jason should win. But, so I didn't really have a preference. I was kind of split down the middle.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why I thought for a minute that they would both die. Why did I think that? That makes no sense. Of course, they both lived and are coming back to wreak havoc. But I like Freddy more. I think he's... Well, I don't know. It's hard because Freddy's, more of a character and Jason's kind of more of a machine, and he's just doesn't talk or anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a personality. He just kills. But yeah, you bring up a very good point of who killed the worst people, and Jason definitely killed a lot more horrible people than Freddy did.
Mm-hmm.
So, good point. Were there any more Friday the 13th movies after this one?
No, just the remake.
Just the remake.
Otherwise, we would have watched those.
Oh wait, no, sorry, not Friday the 13th. I meant to say Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, so they did 1 to 7, and then this, and then the remake. So same answer.
Same, yeah, okay.
But yeah, I guess I forgot. I wanted to do this before we delved into the movie, and I forgot. I was gonna run through the Freddy movies and be like, here's what I think of all of them.
Yeah, because I've only seen 1, 2, 3, and 7, or maybe just 1 and 3 and 7.
No, you've seen 1, 2, 3 for sure.
1, 2, 3. What's part 7?
Part 7 is the one when Freddy comes to the real world, and it's Nancy as an adult, the third one that she's in. It's the actress who plays Nancy plays a fictionalized version of herself, and then it's her son's being terrorized by Freddy, and then she has to literally become Nancy again and fight him.
Maybe I didn't see that. I only remember her, but I remember her dying.
Yeah, that's the third one. Spoilers.
That's the third one.
Spoilers for Nightmare Part 3.
Spoilers for Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, so wait, she dies and then she comes back?
Yeah, because it's a meta, it takes place in the fictionalized real world, so in the movie, the movies are the movies, and then so it's hard to explain. It's very
so
meta. So okay, so in the storyline, Part 7's called New Nightmare. In the storyline of New Nightmare, Wes Craven and everybody who's involved with the movie are making a new 7th Nightmare on Elm Street movie. like that's like the plot of the actual movie, and then like Freddy comes out of the movie set and like comes into the real world.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great. It's like one of the best ones.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one.
So what did you think of the first three? Do you remember?
Oh, I loved them.
Very
I like
brief.
them a lot.
Very brief.
The first one was, it might be one of my favorite horror movies, or it is one of my favorite horror movies. Definitely like top 3 probably horror movies. And part 2 wasn't as memorable as part 3, but it was still good and had some like crazy gore and everything. Yeah, the effects I liked a lot.
In part 2, you mean?
In all of them.
And then part
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and then part 3. What'd you think of that? That's when like the kids have like dream powers and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
Just like the whole concept of like the Dream Warriors. Isn't that what it's called? Dream Warriors?
Yes, that's what it's called. Because that's the name of the song.
It's so great.
It's great.
Like they're all just banding together in their dreams to fight. That's so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So, so back to Friday the 13th, Freddy versus Jason. There was a lot of like non-politically correct things that happened that probably you couldn't get away with nowadays. Like there was like some racist remarks, like lots of sexual harassment scenes, and I was like, ugh, ick.
Yeah, me too.
2001, ick, or 2003, why? But that is all I have on this movie.
Okay, so I don't have a lot either, so I'll be brief. So firstly, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is a movie I really, really love. It's like you said, it's probably my top 3 favorite horror movies of all time, and it's probably in my top like 30 to 40 favorite movies ever. I don't keep a list, but that's where it would be. Part 2 is really underrated. I like it a lot. Maybe that'll be an episode someday because that's a good movie. Like you said, part 3 is a lot of fun. With like the dream powers and dream warriors, and it's great to have Nancy back in it, and it feels like a true sequel. 4 and 5 are okay. They kind of bug me, but they're also not that bad. The 6th one, Freddy's Dead, I hate it more than any of these bad Friday the 13th movies because I absolutely despise it. It's awful. Never ever watch it. And then 7 is really good, the Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And then obviously we have Freddy vs. Jason, and then the remake, which I've never seen. So for Freddy vs. Jason, I like how they like. It didn't take very long for them to bring Freddy in because they're just like, oh, here's Freddy and here's like all the other movies that he was in, and they do it in like 3 minutes, and that was a great way to like make it feel connected even though they weren't connected before. It didn't feel like it felt less shoehorned than you normally think. Yeah. I also love how, I know it wasn't Betsy Palmer because obviously it's been like a long time since the first movie, but I love how they had Freddy like, you know, become like turn into his mom, and that's how he gets Jason to kill people. Like that was really cool. Yeah, I like that too. The best line in the movie is when this one kid's like, I don't play checkers, I'm an Uno guy, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. I thought there was like going to be some significance to that later on, but no, that wasn't. Yeah, because I love the Elm Street movies, especially 1 and 3, and I love how this movie is really like closely connected to the mythology. Like they're going to the same hospital from part 3, and they're taking like the same dream pills and all that. And then how there's little like visual nods, like when Will goes up to Laurie's window, it's like the same thing as in the first movie with Johnny Depp going up to Nancy's window. Like that was cool. Yep. The cinematography was actually really good. Like the way like the lighting and the shadows were done was really good. I think like especially like in the like when Jason and Freddy were like in the dream world, like that was really cool. Yeah. Like I think there was like one when like Freddy was like on the corner and then like his shadow goes like across the entire frame. Ooh. Do you remember that? Like something like that? No. maybe I'm not thinking. And then there's no, I'm sure you're right. So when they get to the hospital, there's the room with like all those like the hallway of all the patients that just continuously sleep, and that like disturbed me. Oh yeah, that was creepy. And they're talking about giving Jason mouth to mouth. That was pretty funny. Ew, it was nasty. He was like gurgling up water because he was drowning, and he's all slimy. Yeah. And then there's the one friend. She's like the last one to die when she realizes she has to sacrifice herself like for Freddy, and then she's like taunting him, and it was absolutely hilarious. She's like,
Oh,
"Who
yeah.
goes around wearing a Christmas sweater?" And then Jason like picks her up and throws her into a tree. That was great.
Yeah, at least she died valiant.
Yes, valiantly.
Valiantly?
Yeah, is that a word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I was... Is it valiant or valiantly? Valiant? Valiant?
Hang
Valiant.
on. Let's look it up.
Valiantly?
Look it up.
Violently. The violently.
Yeah, valiantly is with courage or determination.
Ah, yes.
Valiant means... Hang on. Valiant means the same thing. So it's valiant and valiantly.
Just not a adverb. Valiantly...
Yep.
It's an adverb and valiant is an adjective.
Yeah, so that's all I got for that movie. It was really enjoyable. I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was easily the best out of the 3 we had to watch.
Yeah.
I say had to, but it was our choice. But anyway.
We had to do it.
We had to. It felt like work a little bit this time. This time and last time felt a bit like work. And then this was like, okay, this is the day off.
The last 3 were definitely the worst 3 that we watched, I feel like. Like the 7, 8, 9. I felt like those were the hardest to get through. Or the first 3, honestly.
Oh, I thought you meant like worst in quality. And I'm like, but you said you really liked the 7th one. What made you change your mind?
Okay, you're right. 7th one was my favorite.
That's the one with the telekinetic girl. But
yes.
Yeah, so do you want to move on to the 2009 movie?
Let's go for it.
The last one.
Friday the 13th. So it's confusing because it's a remake, but it's not really a remake. It's just kind of like another like classic Jason film.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like it goes back to the Camp Crystal Lake, but it's set in present day. But it kind of goes back to like the second movie. It's kind of like as if they're remaking the second movie because Jason's wearing a bag over his head, not a mask, and like they see his shrine that he dedicated to his mother in her head. So it was interesting. I actually didn't hate this one. I thought it was good, but I'll recap real quick. So we go back to a throwback of the earlier movies where they recap everything in the beginning.
Yep.
So this time they recap Jason watching the girl who would have been Alice. It's obviously not Alice now, but so it's a reenactment of a recap of the first movie, very first movie. So we see Alice chopping off Mrs. Voorhees' head, and then fast forward to almost, let's see, I guess it just says present day on the...
So that'd be like 29
movies.
Years, right?
20,
something like 28, 29 years.
Yeah. So we've got a group of friends walking around Camp Crystal Lake. They're trying to find this like field of marijuana that's growing in the woods, and this is almost a whole movie in itself, this beginning part, because we've got all this rapport with all of these teenagers, friends and everything. You kind of get to know them pretty well.
Yeah.
And everyone ends up dying by the hands of Jason. We see this girl Whitney and her boyfriend go into this shack that is inhabited by Jason, supposedly, or it looks like it, and they find the shrine of Mrs. Voorhees, her head, and then this necklace her boyfriend picks up, and he looks inside, and it's a locket, and it has a picture of Mrs. Voorhees and Jason in it, and he's like, oh, this girl looks like you should keep it. So she keeps the locket. Then Jason goes and murders everyone. Seems to be like he murders everyone. Then we go to the title sequence, and that was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it really was a short film, like in the middle, in the beginning of the movie.
It was. And so I was like, all right, guess we're going to get to know some new characters now.
Oh,
so
boy.
About a month and a half later, here comes Trent and Jenna. Trent's the biggest douchebag, and Jenna is Danielle Panabaker, Disney Channel star. Woo woo.
Yep.
And got some slutty girls and a nerdy guy and a stoner guy and another friend. They are on their way to douchebag Trent's cabin. So they stop and they get some gas, and they meet Clay at the gas station, who is searching for his sister, whose name is Whitney, so the girl from the beginning. and he's asking if he can put up missing person flyers around the place. And then he and Trent get into a little riff, and we learn that Trent is a douchebag, basically.
Yeah.
And then, so Danielle and Trent meet Clay. So later, Clay is continuing to deliver his flyers, and he ends up at the cabin that they're all at to give them a flyer. So Danielle Panabaker invites him in. Oh, yeah. And Clay is Jared Padalecki from Supernatural.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Gilmore
yeah.
Girls.
Yeah.
So that's what you'll recognize him from.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Danielle likes Clay, so she invites him in, and then Trent gets mad and they have a fight. Meanwhile, two of the friends they take out Trent's boat, and they get killed on Crystal Lake by Jason, who shoots an arrow through the driver, and then the boat runs over the girl in the water, and then she can't escape because she sees Jason on the shore, and it's actually pretty creepy. I got kind of scared during that part.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Later, Clay and Jenna are like looking around Camp Crystal Lake because they know about Jason, and they think they know like where he would be and how to get him. So then they're left back at the cabin are the other characters who get killed. So then Clay and Jenna are still at Jason's lair, and they hear screaming coming from underground. They go down this series of crazy tunnels, and they discover Clay's sister Whitney has been captured and being a prisoner for Jason because she looks like his mother. And so he has kept her there for a month and a half. They try to escape. They do escape, except Danielle Panabaker is murdered just as she was about to get away, which I don't think she deserved to be murdered.
No.
So Clay and Whitney get out. They go to...
They end up in like a barn or something, right?
I don't know where they end up. They end up, in some sort of room, like shed or something.
Yeah, like a shed.
So then Whitney finally uses her Pamela Voorhees powers, look-alike powers, and channels her inner Mrs. Voorhees and says, "Jason, it's over. It's okay." And then she stabs him with his own machete. Oh, the irony. And so then Clay and Whitney dump Jason's body in the lake. Good riddance, but good luck with that. So then they're sitting on the dock, relieved, but then Jason bursts through the wooden dock and grabs Whitney, and then it ends.
Don't they like isn't there like a chain around his neck too? Then they like tie him to like a it's not a wood chipper, but it's like something kind of like it where it like pulls him in and like it would kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, she stabs him, and then there are chains wrapped around him because that's how they tried to kill him before. And they feed the chain into this thing with spikes that's just like eating the chain, and so it's like slowly sucking him up into there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, forgot about that. Yeah, so I was upset about the ending, I guess, because I don't know. It's just like, ugh, come on.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, just exhausting.
Yeah.
So your thoughts?
Okay, so at the beginning, I really liked how the credits, like the logos, were like in red. That was cool. I liked how the stuff for part 1 of Alice cutting Mrs. Voorhees' head off was like black and white. Although they should have just used the clip from the first movie. Like, I don't know why they bothered. I liked how this one was a complete back at camp movie because we hadn't had that since like part 7. And the movies really suffered for it. Even though this one wasn't great, I'm glad that like we had it where it was like, okay, we're back in the camp. Yeah, and it was weird because it was like it didn't need to be a remake. Like it could have easily fit in to be a sequel because it doesn't really change too much around like anything major. But then they're like, oh, we're gonna do a remake because it makes more money and because people are stupid. In the beginning, there was a Blue Velvet reference, which is always
yes, good. I caught it.
I mean, don't watch this movie. Go watch Blue Velvet instead because it's much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. That was a little cool reference. And then there's the one kid who had, I don't know if it was a Walkman or a CD player, but he had like his 80s music on, like Sister Christian, and that was awesome. Like every movie needs to have that song in it. Yeah, and I think he was the only one that didn't like go off with somebody else, and then he got killed, which was unfortunate.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this was where you watched it, but I watched it on HBO Max, and I watched it on my computer, and even with my like brightness up really high, it was the lighting was really dark, and it was hard to see a lot of it. Did that happen to you? Or?
I didn't notice it being too dark, but Yeah, I didn't notice.
Yeah. The other major thought I have is that I really hated Trent. He was awful, and he should have gotten a worse death.
I know. I was kind of sidetracked when I was watching his death. Did he get like run over or something?
I forget.
I think like so he was with Clay and Jenna.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that the right characters?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, oh, Clay and Jenna, and they're the last three before they find Whitney,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, something happens, and I didn't watch. I was painting my nails.
Well, that's a better use of your time anyway. I think it was, I forget who it was, but Jason like throws the axe and it goes really far and then it like kills the guy. I'm like, okay, that was a little bit stupid. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Poor guy. And then he just like couldn't move.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Yeah, I wrote, yeah, Lawrence. I wrote down, I forget who it is, but I put that guy in the truck looked like Ralph, but I forget who was in the truck. But there was some guy that looked like Ralph from the first movie, and then I'm like, oh. And then Whitney using Ginny's idea was pretty cool, except I thought it was cooler in part 2 because it was more original. But it was still a nice callback, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the movie overall was just kind of whatever. I don't really have a huge list of things to talk about. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's kind of forgettable, and I'm just like, it's okay. It's just middle-of-the-road bargain bin fluff.
Yeah, I thought it was actually pretty funny. Like, I laughed out loud a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the writing was pretty decent.
I thought, yeah. I don't know about that, but
And I noticed this guy, I'm like, I'm sure Jake loved this part because this guy is wearing a shirt that says "Fuck Christmas." I'm like, I'm sure Jake wanted to rip that thing to shreds.
No, I thought that was pretty funny. I gotta admit.
Christmas is the best.
Yeah, Christmas and Halloween are the best. That's why October through December is the best time of the year.
Yes.
So, do you have any thoughts to add about this movie?
Yeah, it's just like, Trent, really? I think we can agree that he gets the award for worst character.
Yeah, absolutely. Undeniably.
Because he's like, has this like 20-minute sex scene with this girl who's not his girlfriend, Jenna. Then Jenna comes back and accuses her of being gone, like having sex with Clay for the whole afternoon, and she's just like, you're a tool. Yeah, I think it brought out like a lot of more emotions out of me than some of the other ones. Like, I was more scared and I laughed more at this one than a lot of the other ones. Mm-hmm. And I liked seeing some familiar faces like Jared and Danielle.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really cool.
Because it was for a second in Jason X, I thought that Bryce Dallas Howard was the AI girl, and Dennis Quaid was the professor.
I mean that's not entirely inaccurate. I mean,
then I looked a second time. I was like, okay, no, that is not them.
I don't know if it was Dennis Quaid, but I thought the professor looked familiar too. But then I couldn't think of his name, but now that you say Dennis Quaid, I'm like, yeah.
Gosh, and that scene though in Jason X where he and the student are having sex. And she's like pinching his nipple with a clamp thing. That was so disturbing.
No, don't talk about that. That was the most disturbing scene in any of these movies. Yeah. Except for maybe everything that Trent does in this movie. Everything is, besides that, like,
he's nasty.
That was awful. That was really awful. Oh my god. Oh god, now I'm thinking of that scene in Jason X. We almost got through the whole episode without you bringing it up. I completely, like, when I watched the movie, I'm like, I guarantee you're gonna bring this up. And then I forgot about it until now that you brought it up again. And I'm like, oh no.
He's like wearing this cute little lingerie outfit and getting his nipple clamped. And he's like, the girl's only doing it so she can pass her midterm, but it seems like she's enjoying herself a lot too.
I think you broke me.
So nasty.
I think you broke me because I forgot how awful that scene is. Oh my god. Oh my god.
My jaw was dropped. I was just like,
yeah, me too.
Okay.
I was like, what kind of movie is this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so as far as final overarching thoughts, I came up with a little list of things we could talk about. Basically like bests and worsts.
Yes.
So first we have the So, well, this could be two options. Because I had best and worst final character, and then best and worst character overall, not counting Jason or Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if that needed to be two categories or if you just wanted to do it as one.
We can do two.
Okay. So yeah, so we'll start with best final like remaining character overall, and why.
I think my favorite best final character was Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically Tommy Part 4, Corey Feldman.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he did a great job at killing Jason.
Mm-hmm.
It was also one of the best kills. And then he lives and comes back in more movies, so we get to see more of him. And so I think he is the best final character for me.
I would agree. I think because he gets a whole trilogy, he gets faked out twice of being the next killer.
Yeah.
And then in 6 he gets a happy ending, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also say Ginny from Part 2, obviously.
Yeah.
Just because I think after, because like Alice was, whatever, she had her one shining moment, but other than that, she was kind of a weak passive character. But then when you get to Part 2, you just had that she there's like that scene at the bar. I don't know if Paul's there with her or not, but she's talking to like her two friends about like Jason as a kid, and like how she's like, I kind of relate to it in this weird way, like I can kind of understand what he went through. And then that comes back at the end when she dresses up as Mrs. Voorhees, and then she's like able to fight back, and that just felt like much more satisfying to see than the first movie was satisfying, like the killing moment, but like the whole chase in Part 2 felt more satisfying because Ginny felt much more competent than Alice.
Definitely. I agree on all parts.
But as far as like character progression, it's easily Tommy, because like he has 3 movies, and you, even though it's a different actor every time, but you still have but you still have his progression of like going from a kid to an adult to an older adult, and it was really great.
Mm-hmm.
If they did another movie with Tommy now and it's like a sequel, they should have Corey Feldman be him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible, but that would be great. But yeah, would you agree?
I agree.
Good. Okay, then who's your worst final character and why?
I did not like Rennie from Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, when you say Rennie, I'm like, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh.
Exactly. Yeah, she did nothing pretty much the whole time. She didn't really deserve to be a final girl, whereas like Danielle Panabaker deserved more to be a final girl because she was like there the whole time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But she just had to die. Yeah, Rennie's kind of worthless.
Yeah. What's her name? Jessica from Part 9 was also kind of worthless, but at least she actually did something. So I'll also go with Rennie from Part 8.
Okay.
I'll agree with you on that one. Okay, so I don't know if this one is easy to do, but I'm not even talking like actor. I'm just talking like movie to movie. Which was your favorite Jason from so like Part 1, Part 2, Part 3? It doesn't. I'm talking about like each movie as a whole, not like the actors. So like, who was your favorite and least favorite Jason in all 12 movies, and why?
I don't have a least favorite, but I do have a favorite of Jason in Part 6.
Mm-hmm. And why?
It's the one where the paintball scene, Jason.
Yes.
Because he like actually has a personality, and he like holds up the guy's arm when he accidentally chops it off. He's like, oh, huh. Or no, he chops it off, but then he picks up his machete and his arm's still attached. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's like the most humanity we get out of Jason, I feel like, and I like that part. But then that Jason wasn't in the entire Part 6 movie, as we've discussed before, because he was too fat. Yeah,
that's really stupid. So I guess the question should have been favorite and least favorite Jason moment. So I think that's a better way to ask it. With your answer. So would you have the same answer? Would you think?
Yeah.
That is a great moment. My favorite Jason moment, and it's in one of the worst movies. My favorite is in Part 8 when he just walks past the people and he kicks the boombox over.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, "Hey, what the hell, man?" And then he turns around and they're like, "Whoa, it's cool, bro." Like that was great.
Yes,
that should have been the whole movie.
Pretty much.
Okay, what about best kill and worst kill?
This was hard decision. I have kind of like a top 3 best kills.
Sure, go ahead.
My third favorite was when the deputy Josh melted in Part 9. Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh yeah, I remember.
When he like crazy does like melts when Jason comes out of him and his skin is like all dripping off of him and everything. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a very traditional Friday the 13th kill. Then my second place goes to Adrian in Jason X when her frozen head gets smashed in. That was really cool.
Yes.
And then my number one kill goes to Julius in Jason Takes Manhattan when they're like fighting, like
yes.
he's actually just like punching him for like a minute and a half, and then Jason takes one swing at his head and his head pops right off and flies off the building.
That was
great.
Yeah, I agree. That was great. There's one I feel like I can't remember that I want to think of, but my list will be very close to yours. I think my third favorite kill is Julius, because that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think my second favorite would be what's her name? Adrian,
mm-hmm.
the one who gets killed with the ice. And then, although I'm trying to think of what my favorite is, I don't know if it's part. Oh yeah, my favorite one is the paintball one when he like flies into the tree and it leaves behind an imprint of his face in part 6.
Yeah,
I think that was my favorite.
I love that one too.
Yeah,
that was great.
Okay.
Oh, the worst one.
Oh yeah, the worst one.
Worst kill was Mrs. Jarvis, because we didn't see her get killed, and then I was confused for the next 2 movies as to if she was alive or not.
Yep, I agree. Easy. Perfect. 100. You're right. That's the only answer.
Yeah, I was like thinking about all like the dumb kills and everything. I was like, well, we didn't even see Mrs. Jarvis get killed. And I was like, did she? I don't know if she did.
We don't know. She could still be lost in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, actually, really.
And then I had 2 more for best and worst. And then if there's any you'd like to add, completely feel free.
Okay.
The first one is best and worst Jason kill. Or you can count Mrs. Voorhees in this too. It's like the final thing they do to kill Jason.
The best, I think, is when Tommy kills him.
Which time?
In part 4, the first time, when he's just like, die.
That was pretty awesome.
The worst? Oh, that's hard. You say your best, I'll think.
I think my best might be part 3. Because I liked the whole chase in it, and I like how Chris stabs him with the axe, and how that's like the axe cut that he has for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I also that'll be my second favorite. My favorite is in part 6 when they tie him to the boat, and then he drowns underwater, and it's kind of a parallel to when he died, I guess, originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a motor. They put it around his neck, and then they they turn the boat on and it chops him up, and then he's at the bottom of the lake. Yes,
that was a good one too. Maybe my least favorite is all the times people died in part 9 when they weren't actually Jason. Except I really like Josh's death because he melts, but Jason wasn't in him at that point. So.
Or wait. Screw it. I'm gonna make it a top 3, and my third favorite kill is the beginning of Jason 9 when they blow him to bits.
That was pretty sick.
But no, I agree with you. Every Jason death in part 9 otherwise was awful. The last one, he just gets stabbed. It's so just kind of whatever. And then those hands that are never explained drag him down to hell. that was
all
weird.
The demon hands.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then the last one I had and if you have any, we might want to do that before this. But which of the movies was your favorite, and which was your least favorite?
My favorite was part 7, The New Blood, with Tina, the telekinetic.
Yes.
Because I thought that was just a crazy place to take this series, and I really enjoyed that it was more creative, and I really liked Tina as a character and the whole story behind that, and she had a unique backstory and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although the acting was not that great besides her, I just like the story the best.
Yeah, I would agree. I think not as that as my pick, but it's definitely, I really liked the story of that, and I thought Tina was a great character. My personal favorite is part 6. I really like how we've been following Tommy for 2 movies, and this is it's not he does a whole lot in this one and didn't do a lot the last 2. And it was the last one we watched of the batch, and I feel like the movies just kind of kept getting better and better. And in part 6 is like the peak of that. And I really liked not only Tommy, but like the other characters. Like his girlfriend was really cool, and like the sheriff was like the perfect asshole. Like he was like the stick in the mud, and then like the kills and like were great, but also like how they took out Jason was great, like I said. But also the fact that like there were actual kids at the camp and they had to like race against the clock to save those kids, like that made it feel more weighty and had a lot more stakes to it, and I really felt the tension.
Yes, so I think that is my second favorite one. That was a hard decision because that one was really good. It stuck out to me, and like the car chase scene was really cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. The car chase was awesome. I never thought I'd see that.
Yeah, because like Tommy really evolves as a character in this one, and because like the other ones, I mean, he's a child in the first one, and then the second one he only says a total of like 20 words the whole time.
Yeah.
So he's like an actual character this time and succeeds and everything. So yeah, I really like that one too.
And then, which was your least favorite and why? I think I know yours, and I think you know mine.
My least favorite was Jason Takes Manhattan.
I was right.
Part 9.
No, part 8.
Part 8. Fuck. Ugh. It was so horrible the whole time. Like, the characters were all bad, except for JJ, who dies first. And
yeah. What was up?
Yeah, she was sweet. Then, yeah, they're not even in Manhattan. They're on a ship. And then when they get to Manhattan, it's just crazy. And then, like, I just hated that stupid necklace that Rennie's boyfriend gives her. It's so bad. It's just bad. Although the dog is cute.
But there's a cute dog in part 2, so...
True.
It's funny that...
Or part 3. And part 3.
Yeah, and part 3. It's...
And part 4.
And part 4. Yes.
Let's give the cutest dog awards.
Okay.
Ready, go. Part 4, Gordon.
Part 2, part 3, part 4.
Gordon the Golden Retriever wins part 4.
I'll give Muffin from part 2 because you think it's Jason, but it's the dog at the end. So
yeah, that was
and then Jason really shows up. And then Paul's like, "Oh, it's Muffin, it's you."
It's Muffin.
Yay! So it's funny that this is how it goes. It's my favorite, then your favorite, then your worst, and then my worst. In chronological order. Like, that's funny.
Oh, weird.
Because part 9 is my least favorite. Even though Jason X is a close second, because I didn't like that very much either. But that at least had its like stupid fun moments.
Yeah.
For me, Jason Goes to Hell was just really, really dull and boring. And I like the idea of Jason's like passing from killer to kill, Jason like passing from person to person, and there's a different killer. But there's not enough time with a single one where you really feel it. It just makes it feel kind of weightless. It's just like, oh, here's a random person killing random people. There was no relation to it. There was no like connective tissue, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he had a niece was like really tacked on and kind of pointless. And then the whole the whole just stabbing him with the dagger, like the whole trying to get the dagger and she's like holding the baby. I'm like, that was really dumb. I
where'd this magical dagger come from?
Yeah, exactly. And I really hated the Duke guy. I wanted to punch him in the face. He's breaking not Tommy's fingers like over and over. I forget his name. I call him Not Tommy because why not?
Steven.
Yeah, I like Not Tommy better because it was going to be Tommy. It's like in Return to Halloween Town when it's Aqua Marnie and not actually Marnie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other rant. But yeah, I just like the opening was really good. Like the first kill was great, like when they kill Jason. But it was the first of the sequels also that didn't really try to connect to the other movies. Like it didn't say how he came back or anything like that, and I just wasn't. That just kind of started it off on the wrong note, I guess. A lot of the kills were fine, but like they weren't that memorable, and the movie as a whole was just pretty dull.
Yeah.
And also the coroner eating the heart is so fucking disgusting. I never want to see that again.
Yeah,
I never ever want to see that again.
Ew. Well, I had a little list of names that have been repeated throughout the series that I wanted to share with you.
Alrighty.
So there are a few that were twice, like anyone named Lawrence and Larry, that was twice. Amanda, 2 Amandas. Edward and Eddie, 2 Robins, 2 Terrys, 2 Susies, 2 Teds. And then a few people who were named 3 times. Mark, Tina, Steve and Steven, Charles, Charlie, and Chuck, Elizabeth, Sandy or Sandra, Richard, Rick, or Richie, Robert, Bobby, or Rob, and Jim and Jimmy. Those were all people, like, 3 times. And then 4 times there was Mike. And for the winner of most named character in the Friday the 13th series was Billy, Bill, and Will. For 5.
Wow. I'll have to pull it up to be sure, so I'm gonna find it. But yeah, so 3 movies in a row for the Dracula Hammer Dracula film series. For 3 of the movies in a row, the main protagonist is named Paul, and they're all different characters and they're all different actors. I'm not kidding. That makes Friday the 13th like naming convention of using these names multiple times. It makes it seem original and like not as cheap.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Everyone's name is Paul.
There's like 6 of these movies, I think 6 or 7, and like parts like 3 of them in a row in the middle of the series. It's Paul.
Oh my god, that's so funny. So I think that concludes our Friday the 13th series.
It does. If you've gotten this far and you've listened to us talk about this for 4 episodes, thank you very much for listening. Like, really, we're just jabbering on about these sometimes great, sometimes horrible, always enjoyable, mostly, movies. Yeah. The fact that there's probably somebody out there who's actually listening to 4 of these episodes of us just bullshitting about Friday the 13th. Like, seriously, thanks for doing that. That's great.
Yes, thank you.
This was a lot of fun to do. We're not going anywhere. We're still going to record more of these, but like this is the end of our mini marathon. So, and Maddie, thank you for going on this journey with me. It was very fun.
Thank you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Aww. So, what are we prescribing for next week?
Next week, our medicine for you is to take 1 dose of Lost in Translation, preferably with food.
Yes.
Then we will discuss that later.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it a little more mellow. We're gonna watch a much more therapeutic movie, and we're just going to stick with 1 and see how that goes. If we have enough material to sustain a longer episode, which I feel like we would, because it's a much deeper and more thought-provoking movie. Not saying Friday the 13th isn't thought-provoking, because it absolutely is, but this is thought-provoking in a much more therapeutic way. And I think our original intentions. They came out in the before movies, of course, but I feel like this Lost in Translation, like, and Before Sunrise and such, those are the kind of movies where the film therapy-ness of the podcast really comes through.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, yeah, this movie is starring Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, and is it directed by Sofia Coppola?
I think she wrote it, too. Let me double check.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Written and directed by Sofia Coppola.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Me too.
So
it's a great one.
Make sure to go home, watch that, and we will see you next time.
I love that you always say go home. Like we don't know where they're listening to this at. It could be home. It could be like in a foreign country. Which actually, no. Don't go home. Go to Tokyo and watch this movie.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be recording from there next time, of course, because we can travel at this time, in this day and age.
Especially to foreign countries.
Especially to the other side of the world. They can't stop us.
See you next week for your next session. Don't forget to take your meds. Keep on living the good life. Eat lots of popcorn. Drink lots of water. Try to think positively. And we will be back with a deep analysis of a very melancholic movie.